The morning mist clung to the ancient walls of Shaolin Temple like the breath of sleeping dragons. But peace would not reign this day. In the courtyard, an elderly merchant struggled with an ornate wooden box, its intricate lock refusing to yield to his weathered fingers. "My antiques are so beautiful," he muttered to himself. "Please help me look." The irony was not lost on him. Here he was, surrounded by some of China's greatest treasures of wisdom and martial knowledge, yet unable to open a simple container. "Let's go," called his companion impatiently. "Oh, go ahead. We're going to sea with the dead old man's goods anyway." "Can you open it?" the merchant asked desperately, but his companion merely shook his head with disdain. "What are you talking about? I called you an old man because I can't open it yet either. The boss will give it back to you when we're done." The merchant's companion was growing increasingly agitated, his loyalty tested by the morning's frustrations. "We are loyal and angry today. I'll keep a record with you. No 6-against-1 arrangement this time." Unknown to these humble traders, their presence at the temple was about to become entangled in events far greater than their simple commercial concerns. The political tensions that had been simmering throughout the region were about to boil over, and Shaolin Temple, despite its commitment to Buddhist neutrality, would find itself at the center of a storm that would test every principle it held sacred. As the merchants continued their futile attempts with the locked box, the sound of approaching horses echoed through the mountain passes. A contingent of imperial soldiers was making its way toward the temple, led by men whose reputations preceded them like shadows before a flame. At their head rode Gao Jinzong, a martial artist whose arrogance was matched only by his considerable skill, and whose claim to be the best in the world had yet to be seriously challenged. The temple bells had barely finished their morning call to prayer when the gates of Shaolin were approached by the imperial delegation. Gao Jinzong dismounted with theatrical flourish, his elaborate robes rustling in the mountain breeze. Behind him, his retinue arranged themselves in military formation, their weapons glinting ominously in the early sunlight. "Bold maniac!" shouted one of Gao Jinzong's subordinates at a young monk who had approached to greet them. "You have the guts to call our High Admiral's rank into question? Talk to me!" The soldier's aggression was immediately apparent, setting a tone of hostility that would characterize the entire encounter. "Hey, hey, hey!" Gao Jinzong interrupted with a wave of his hand, his voice carrying the smooth confidence of a man accustomed to command. "I am Gao Jinzong. This expert doesn't know what advice he has for us." The young monk, intimidated but maintaining his composure, bowed respectfully. "You are Gao Jinzong? It seems that I have never met this great man before. Are you the one who makes appointments to fight in the arena? Gao Jinzong, who claims to be the best in the world?" "Number 1 in the world!" Gao Jinzong declared, his chest swelling with pride. "Stop talking nonsense and fold your hands in respect." The monk's eyes widened. "Hey, sir, you order us around as if this is the best in the world? It's just bullshit!" Before the situation could escalate further, the temple's senior monk, Sunday, appeared in the courtyard. His presence immediately changed the atmosphere. Where there had been growing chaos, his calm authority brought a sense of order and dignity. Sunday was known throughout the region not only for his spiritual wisdom, but also for his diplomatic skills, which had kept Shaolin neutral through many political upheavals. "2 donors," Sunday said, his voice carrying easily across the courtyard. "Shaolin Temple is a Buddhist Pure Land. If you shall search among the disciples, I'm afraid it may be inconvenient." Gao Jinzong's eyes narrowed. "Sunday, if I insist on forcing you to obey the order—" "If the donor insists on forcing the order, Sunday replied with unshakable calm, "I'm afraid you might be disrespectful to the current emperor." Oh, Gao Jinzong laughed mockingly. Everyone in the world knows that the current emperor has stopped worshipping Buddhism and now worships the three treasures. If adults must disturb the peace here, I'm afraid it will anger the emperor. Gao Jinzong snorted dismissively. You are harboring traitors. Even if the emperor knew, I won't be blamed either. His voice rose to a threatening roar. Sunday, if you know what's good for you, hand over Hong Ting Lan immediately. If not, don't blame me for burning all the jade and stone in your Shaolin temple. The mention of Hong Ting Lan sent a ripple of tension through the assembled monks. Hong Ting Lan was indeed within the temple walls, but he was there as a seeker of sanctuary, not as the criminal that imperial forces claimed him to be. The monks knew that surrendering him would mean certain death for a man whose only crime was opposing the corruption that had infected the imperial court. San's weathered face remained impassive, but those who knew him well could see the resolve hardening in his eyes. Since the two donors are determined to do so, I have nothing more to say. He turned to face the temple's interior and raised his voice in a call that had not been heard at Shaolin for many years. The Dharma protectors, obey the order and play the Arhat formation. The response was immediate and awe-inspiring. From seemingly every corner of the temple complex, monks began to emerge and arrange themselves in the courtyard. These were not the young novices who tended the gardens and swept the halls, but the temple's martial monks, men who had dedicated their lives to the dual path of spiritual enlightenment and physical perfection. The Arhat formation retreats! Sunday commanded, and the monks moved with fluid precision, their movements choreographed by years of training and meditation. Back off! King Kong subduing tiger formation! Gao Jinzong watched the display with growing amazement and grudging respect. Shaolin formation is nothing more than this, he said, but his voice carried less certainty than his words suggested. Brother, you are truly extraordinary. Come in and enter Shaolin if you dare. The formations were more than mere displays of coordination. They were living manifestations of centuries of martial wisdom, each position calculated to maximize the defensive capabilities of the temple while minimizing the harm that would come to all involved. The King Kong subduing tiger formation, in particular, was legendary throughout the martial world for its ability to neutralize even the most skilled individual fighters through coordinated group tactics. As the imperial forces prepared to test themselves against these ancient defenses, a new voice cut through the tension like a blade through silk. Fang Shiyu! The call came from an unexpected direction, and all eyes turned to see a figure approaching from the temple's inner courtyards. The speaker was Hua Mei, a woman whose reputation as both a martial artist and a strategist was known throughout the region. Her presence here was significant. It meant that the conflict surrounding Hong Ting Lan had attracted attention from quarters that even Gao Jinzong might find troublesome. "What are you looking for me for?" came the response, and Fang Shiyu himself stepped into view. Young, confident, and carrying himself with the easy grace of someone who had never met a physical challenge he couldn't overcome, Fang Shiyu was already a legend in his own right despite his youth. His skills were spoken of in whispers throughout the martial world, and his arrival at Shaolin at this crucial moment could not be coincidence. "Fang Shiyu," Hua Mei said, her voice carrying a weight of both respect and urgency. "I ask you again, would you like to be my apprentice?" The young warrior's laugh was sharp and dismissive. "You're asking too much. Do you want me to raise the Shaolin Temple? You must want me to be your apprentice first, but I'm telling you, even if you don't want to come this time, I really want to find you to avenge Chief Hong." The mention of Chief Hong sent another wave of tension through the assembled crowd. Chief Hong had been a hero to many, a leader in the resistance against imperial corruption, and his death had left a void that many sought to fill. For Hua Mei to invoke his name in connection with Fang Shiyu suggested that the young warrior's presence here was tied to larger schemes of rebellion and revenge. "Just you?" Fang Shiyu continued, his confidence bordering on arrogance. "Okay, if I lose within 3 moves, I'll give in to you. I will be your apprentice. If not, you have to serve my mother." "Ah, Shiyu, are you okay?" The concern in Hua Mei's voice was genuine, but Fang Shiyu was already moving, his body flowing into the opening stance of what observers recognized as one of the more devastating fighting styles in his considerable repertoire. The duel between Fang Shiyu and Hua Mei was brief but spectacular. In the space of 3 lightning-fast exchanges, it became clear that while Hua Mei was indeed a formidable martial artist, she was not quite ready to claim Fang Shiyu as a student. The young warrior's techniques were not merely powerful, they demonstrated a level of understanding and innovation that marked him as someone who had transcended traditional boundaries. "You are not qualified to be my apprentice," Fang Shiyu declared as Hua Mei stepped back, acknowledging defeat with grace. But before anyone could fully process this outcome, another voice boomed across the courtyard. "Excellent! Today I want to avenge Hong Dakshia." The speaker was an elderly monk, one whose presence had been felt but not seen during the earlier confrontations. This was clearly a master of considerable skill and authority, someone who commanded respect even from figures like Sande. His decision to involve himself directly in the conflict marked a significant escalation. "Old monk," Gao Jinzong called out, his earlier confidence now mixed with wariness. "You are finally willing to take action? Ha ha! Good, good, good!" "Donor," the old monk replied, his voice carrying the weight of years and wisdom. "Why are you so aggressive? I'd better stop before you make a big mistake." Gao Jinzong's laughter was harsh and mocking. "Old monk, you have such a bad tone. The red dragons all died in my hands. What's more, it's you and your 3 virtues." "Donor," the monk said sadly, "I don't think the world's best reputation is that important to you." "Number 1 in the world is what I dream of," Gao Jinzong roared. "Amitabha!" The battle that followed between Gao Jinzong and the elderly monk was unlike anything the witnesses had ever seen. Both combatants were masters of the highest order, their techniques refined through decades of practice and real combat experience. But as the fight progressed, it became clear that Gao Jinzong possessed an advantage that made him nearly invincible. "Fa Ming has a golden bell to protect him," observed one of the watching monks in amazement. "The abbot couldn't possibly break his weakness." The golden bell technique was legendary throughout the martial world, a method of body conditioning that rendered its practitioner virtually immune to conventional attacks. Those who mastered it could withstand blows that would shatter stone, their bodies becoming living weapons capable of both dealing and absorbing incredible punishment. "Must be among the 36 vital points," the abbot muttered to himself, his experienced eye searching for the weakness that every defensive technique must possess. "I, the abbot, should know where it is." The fight continued with increasing intensity, each exchange revealing more of both combatants' capabilities. Gao Jinzong's golden bell protection allowed him to fight with reckless abandon, confident that his opponent's strikes could not seriously harm him. The abbot, meanwhile, drew upon decades of wisdom and experience, his attacks precisely calculated to probe for the hidden vulnerability that would allow him to turn the tide. "I see," the abbot suddenly exclaimed, his eyes lighting up with understanding. "I won't forget. I must remember you." But even as understanding dawned, the physical reality of the golden bell's protection remained formidable. "The master overestimates his abilities," Gao Jinzong taunted. "I don't want to kill today, but I will if necessary." While the dramatic duel captivated most of the onlookers, other events were unfolding in the shadows of the temple complex. Hong Tinglan, the man whose presence had sparked this entire confrontation, was not simply hiding passively within the temple walls. He had been working with allies both within and outside Shaolin to develop plans that would allow him to escape and continue his resistance to imperial tyranny. "Although I found him and he came to me," one of his supporters reported, "his skills are profound. It's not easy to hurt him. I know who he is. He is his brother's keeper." The rescue attempt was complicated by the ongoing battle in the main courtyard, but it was also provided with cover by the same conflict. While Gao Jinzong and his forces were focused on their confrontation with the monks, Hong Tinglan's allies were able to move more freely through the temple's many passages and hidden routes. "Hong Tinglan, how are you?" asked one of his rescuers as they finally reached his hiding place. "Thanks to your good fortune," Hong Tinglan replied, but his voice carried the strain of someone who had been living under constant threat for far too long. "You're such a despicable person, but fortunately my senior brother and I arrived in time. If you don't let me take advantage of you, you're brave enough to rob me personally." The rescue party had to move quickly. Gao Jinzong, one of them, declared, "I want to see what else you have to say this time. My brother should kill him while the situation is chaotic. Official Hong Si came to save people, but I was so scared that they would rescue me that I captured Hong Tinglan first." "You take Hong Tinglan away," another insisted. "But why take Hong Tinglan to Beijing? The capital is not safe. There is crisis everywhere in that place. I won't take him to Beijing. How else can we ensure his safety?" As the various conflicts reached their crescendo, a new figure emerged from the chaos, one whose presence would change the nature of everything that had transpired. This man carried himself with the bearing of nobility, but there was something in his eyes that spoke of long-suppressed rage and frustrated ambition. "Master, you don't believe him," the figure said, addressing the temple's leadership with familiarity that suggested previous acquaintance. "Taoist priest, please believe me. Yes, I want to duel with Hong Tinglan, but, Taoist priest, I cannot allow interference." "No entry allowed," came a firm response. "I agreed to fight with Bei Mei, but you are not allowed to interfere." The newcomer's laugh was bitter and filled with years of resentment. Hong Zhengnan really kept his promise. "Ha ha ha ha! Hey, Uncle Wu Zhou Dazhong! Ha 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 ha! I didn't expect that I was your 14th uncle. It's really unexpected. Looking around, he doesn't look like a king, so you should be in the right place." The revelation sent shockwaves through everyone present. This was not simply another martial artist or imperial official. This was a member of the royal family itself, someone with legitimate claims to power and the resources to back those claims with force. "I will keep my promise," the 14th prince continued, his voice rising with long-suppressed passion. "There is only one me in the world. I am me. I am me. You should be damned for talking nonsense. I have been waiting for years. The world always belongs to me. My literary talent and martial arts are the best in the world. You and Yongzheng can't compare with me at all." The 14th prince's claims were not merely the ravings of a madman. They were backed by genuine grievances and considerable abilities. His martial skills were indeed formidable, refined through years of secret training and preparation for this moment. His literary accomplishments were equally impressive, demonstrating the classical education that was the birthright of imperial princes. "There is no comparison at all," he continued, his voice gaining strength and authority. "Of course they are not as good as me. On that day, Yongzheng plotted to usurp the throne. Today I can finally wash away this great shame. People, come and prepare wine." The prince's demands for recognition and service were not unreasonable from his perspective. He had spent decades watching what he saw as his rightful inheritance being squandered by rulers he considered his inferiors. The current crisis, with its focus on rebels and imperial authority, provided him with the perfect opportunity to press his claims. "Wait," he said, his tone suddenly changing as he focused on one of the individuals present. "Since you are Yongzheng's biological son, you owe a debt. Why are you pouring wine with me instead of serving me properly?" The humiliation he demanded was not simply personal. It was symbolic, a public demonstration of his superiority and rightful place in the imperial hierarchy. "I want you to serve me personally," he declared. "He has already agreed to take first place, so why bother putting away the gun? I want this silly dog to serve me with complete submission." The prince's moment of triumph, however, contained the seeds of his own destruction. In his arrogance and desire for symbolic victory, he had overlooked the practical realities of the situation he had created. Those he sought to humiliate were not simply going to accept their degradation passively. "The emperor was insulted," muttered one of the observers. "You don't even look at it. Is there such a eunuch in the world as Fang Shiyu?" "Go ahead," someone else whispered. "Just a bottle of poisoned wine. What can I do? You're just a stupid dog." The prince's confidence remained unshaken. "I knew you were reluctant to give up this throne. It's a waste of time to find these fools to be buried with you. The most regrettable thing about Fang Shiyu is that you came to find me too late. I could have made you a great general, but now it's too late. All the guys will die the same as you. You and all the rebels must be killed. Ha ha ha!" But even as he laughed and celebrated his perceived victory, the poison was already beginning to work. The prince had been so focused on demonstrating his superiority that he had failed to properly assess the loyalty and capabilities of those around him. As the poison took effect, the prince's confidence began to waver, but his martial skills remained formidable. The final battle that ensued was a desperate affair, with multiple combatants involved and the outcome uncertain until the very last moment. "One hammer blow and you can't find your way," the prince gasped, his speech beginning to slur from the poison's effects. "Ha ha ha! My martial arts are #1 in the world! Me! Good! Nice to see you!" Hong Meiguan, whose father had been killed by the prince's forces, stepped forward to face the weakened but still dangerous royal. "Hong Meiguan, your father died in my hands," the prince taunted. "What's more, it's you." "I was just about to ask you, Cave Master," Hong Meiguan replied grimly. "He is the 14th prince. He wanted to be emperor and prevent us Han people from restoring our country and overthrowing the Qing dynasty. The key lies in stopping him.
"Looks like you can't live without death," the prince snarled. But his movements were becoming increasingly erratic as the poison spread through his system.
"Ha ha ha! Really invincible! Can't be beaten to death!" he continued to boast. "What kind of boxing technique do you use? No life left. My golden bell cover can defeat all the boxing masters in the world."
The final technique employed in this climactic battle was one that few had ever seen: the legendary Thunder Sutra, a martial art so advanced and dangerous that it was rarely used even in life or death situations. The practitioner who wielded it seemed to call down the very power of heaven itself, their movements accompanied by sounds like distant thunder.
"Although the end of the month is a very pure moon," observed one of the witnesses, "he knew that the month would be transferred. Be careful." The Thunder Sutra technique was not merely about physical power. It required perfect harmony between the practitioner's internal energy and the natural forces around them. When properly executed, it could overcome even the most formidable defenses, including the legendary Golden Bell protection.
"Ha ha ha! Yeah! The prince cried out as he felt his defenses finally beginning to crumble. "You are not worthy of being an emperor! No one can stop me! I am the emperor! I am! It's me!"
But the Thunder Sutra continued its relentless assault, each strike precisely calculated to exploit the weaknesses that the poison had created in the prince's defenses. "Take money," someone shouted, though the meaning was unclear in the chaos of battle. "I am a stone with great fortune," the prince declared desperately. "I won't lose to you like this." The prince's downfall came not from any single opponent, but from the combination of his own arrogance, the poison he had unknowingly consumed, and the collective will of those he had sought to oppress. His claims to invincibility and rightful rule crumbled as surely as his physical defenses.
"You hurt others and end up hurting yourself," one of the survivors observed as the prince finally fell. "Your arrows are poisonous, but the poison has turned against you."
The battle's conclusion brought a mixture of relief and sadness to all who witnessed it. Justice had been served, but at a considerable cost. The prince, for all his flaws and cruelties, had possessed genuine abilities and legitimate grievances. His death represented not just the end of a threat, but the tragic waste of potential that might have been channeled toward more constructive purposes. "Dragon in the sky, stop!" came the final command, and the fighting ceased at last. In the aftermath, as the survivors tended to their wounds and mourned their dead, the greater implications of what had transpired began to become clear. The confrontation at Shaolin Temple had been more than just a clash between rebels and imperial forces. It had been a microcosm of the larger struggles tearing at the fabric of Chinese society. The temple itself, despite the violence that had visited its peaceful halls, remained standing as a symbol of endurance and wisdom. The monks who had defended it had proven that their commitment to justice and protection of the innocent was more than mere philosophy. It was a living principle worth fighting and dying for. Fang Shiyu, Hong Tinglan, and the other survivors would carry the lessons of this day forward into whatever conflicts awaited them. They had learned that true strength came not from individual prowess alone, but from the bonds of loyalty and common purpose that united people in the face of tyranny and corruption. The legend of what transpired at Shaolin Temple that day would be told and retold for generations, growing in the telling but never losing its essential truth: that courage, wisdom, and justice, when properly combined, could overcome even the most formidable opposition.